There's a calendar on Vern Halvorsen's kitchen wall. One date, circled in pencil. He spent 2 years picking that date. 2 years of phone calls, notes, getting it exactly right. There's a second mark on that calendar now. Vern didn't make it. The Employee Benefit Research Institute has been asking retirees the same questions for 36 years. This year, 46% of them said they left work earlier than they planned to, and every piece of advice out there about picking the right month to retire is correct. Good people, real numbers, nothing shady in any of it. It just stands on one assumption. Nobody says out loud, picking your month pulls 4 levers. 3 of them die the second somebody else picks your date. The fourth one doesn't. This is about the fourth one, and why it's still yours 12 months after you walk out that door. Vern is 64, 22 years as a shipping coordinator for a regional food distributor in central Illinois. His wife is Maureen. He picked January 2nd, not at random. He watched the videos, and he didn't watch them for fun. He took notes. He called HR with the exact questions he'd been told to ask. When does the company contribution fully pay out? How does unused vacation get paid? When does the insurance stop? And January 2nd was a good answer. Work through December 31st. So he's still on the books when the company contribution lands. The vacation payout falls into January instead, into a year with almost no salary behind it. And the whole year in front of him opens up as a low-income year, which is the cheapest year of his life to move money around in. Let me be plain about this, because the rest of it depends on it. That advice is right. If you've got a steady job, a good back, and a date you actually get to choose, those 4 levers are real levers, and pulling them is one of the highest return afternoons you'll spend all year. Vern did the homework. He did it well. Nobody accounts for the rest of it. Vern is 64, and almost everything that matters to him is sliding. The market, his left knee. Whether the company keeps his shift next year, how many afternoons a week Maureen's mother over in Peoria is going to need. Then somebody comes along and says, put all of that down. This one's 100% yours. That's not a trick. That's the first real relief he's felt in months. And because the relief was real, he never checked what it was standing on. He never asked, what if I don't get to pick? Asking takes back the exact thing he'd just been handed. Vern and Maureen had already picked where they'd eat breakfast that first morning. A diner out on Route 33, he'd settled on pancakes, not eggs. In September, there was a 15-minute meeting Vern wasn't invited to. Route consolidation, not performance. Nobody did anything wrong. And I want to be careful here because it's easy to turn this into a villain story, and it isn't one. The company redrew a map. Vern's shift wasn't on the new map. Last day, October 31st, he drove home, calendar still on the wall. January 2nd, still circled in pencil. 3 months past where the story now ended. It was a date that belonged to nobody. Lever 1. The company contribution. His plan pays the full company contribution to people still employed on the last day of the plan year. Vern walked out October 31st. And that rule isn't federal law. It's a line in his own company's plan document, which means every video he watched, every well-meaning person on the internet, none of them could have told him what it said. Dead. Lever 2. The vacation payout, the whole design depended on that lump sum landing in January in a year with almost no salary underneath it. Instead, it landed in his final check, stacked on top of 10 months of pay in the same calendar year. Same money, same 22 years, completely different tax bill, dead. Lever 3, lining up the insurance. This one's half alive, and the half that lived is the half that bites. Company coverage ended at the end of the month. Vern took COBRA. It kept his doctor, it kept Maureen's, and it felt like a bridge. Vern turned 65 in March. COBRA keeps your doctor. It does not keep your clock. Medicare does not count COBRA as coverage based on current employment. That's straight from Medicare, in those words. Vern's window to sign up for Part B opens 3 months before the month he turns 65 and closes 3 months after. Having COBRA doesn't move that window by a single day. Let it pass. And the penalty is 10% for every full 12 months he could have enrolled and didn't, added onto his monthly premium for as long as he has, Part B. The standard Part B premium this year is $202.90 a month. That's not a late fee. That's a line on the bill every month for the rest of his life. 3 in the morning, Vern isn't lying there doing tax math. He's lying there with one sentence going around. I should have seen it coming. 22 years. 2 years of planning. And he still came up short, so he must not have been good enough. That feeling deserves a real number next to it. The Employee Benefit Research Institute has run this survey for 36 years. It's the longest running one there is. This year, 46% of retirees said they left earlier than they'd planned. Of the people who left early, 41% pointed to a health problem or a disability. 35% pointed to changes at their company. Same survey, one more pair of numbers, and this is the pair that stopped me. Workers still on the job expect to retire at 65. Retirees actually retired at 62. Read that again? 3 years. And I'll be straight with you about what that survey doesn't say. How many of those people would have picked a different month if anybody had let them? Nobody really knows. It doesn't ask. But 3 years is not Vern's private failure. It's a gap that's been sitting in the same data, pointing the same direction for 36 years running. This has a name. Psychologists call it the illusion of control, which just means your brain quietly swaps I've prepared for, I decide. Those were never the same thing. So Vern didn't lose control. He was never holding the lever he thought he was holding. He was holding a different one, and nobody had bothered to show him where it was. That's not a discipline problem. That's not a Vern problem. The plan was written for a man who still had the pen. He got an envelope out of the kitchen drawer, not a notebook. He says a notebook turns everything into a project. 4 lines on the back, year-end company, contribution, vacation payout, line up the insurance, which year the income lands in. He crossed off the first one, crossed off the second one, looked at the third one for a while and crossed off half of it. He stopped at the fourth. The first 3 all hang on a date. That date isn't his anymore. The fourth one doesn't hang on a date. It hangs on a year. And that year hasn't happened yet. So he wrote 2 things in the margin. This year, 10 months of salary, final check, vacation payout, all piled into one return. Next year, almost empty. The pen was in his hand the whole time. He'd just been holding the wrong end of it. What he did with that nearly empty year is the part worth stealing. He filed a form nobody told him about. Medicare sets his premium surcharge by looking back 2 years at a tax return from a year when he still had a full salary. Social Security has a form for exactly that situation. It's called SSA 44, and it's for a life-changing event. Work stoppage is on their list. Nobody files it for you. No letter shows up. Vern had to find out it existed. He cut the low-income year into pieces. A Roth conversion has no minimum and no maximum. So it was never whether, it was how much and in which year. Every dollar he converts counts as income in the year he converts it, which is exactly why an almost empty year is the cheapest room in the house to do it in. He found a ceiling he'd never once heard of. This year, a married couple with taxable income up to $98,900 pays 0% federal tax on long-term capital gains. Not reduced. 0. Vern never heard that number in 22 years because for 22 years it didn't apply to him. His paycheck filled that space, and he asked for the document instead of the person. The rule that cost him the company contribution lives in one place, the summary plan description for his plan. Under federal law, he can request it in writing, and the plan has 30 days to hand it over. He'd had that right for 22 years, never opened it. He still misses January 2nd. He always will. That was a date he wrote himself, and it got taken. But he stopped reading October 31st as a verdict on the kind of man he is. What he said to Maureen in February at the diner out on Route 33, they went just 3 months late, was this: I thought the date was the decision. Turns out the date was what they handed me. The decision was the 12 months after, and nobody took that pancakes, not eggs. So where does that leave you? If you still get to pick your date, every one of those levers is real. Pull all 4. Don't leave one sitting there. And if you don't get to pick, you didn't fall short of anything. You're standing somewhere nobody makes content for. Your question was never which month. It's which tax year your last paycheck lands in and what you do with the year that comes after it. That one is still answerable on day 2. On day 200, none of those doors open on their own. They're not locked either. One question for the comments, and I do read them. Was your retirement date one you picked or one you were handed. I'd like to hear which. If this was useful, subscribing helps me put it in front of more people who are about to make this exact call. Every source in this video, the Employee Benefit Research Institute, survey, Social Security, the IRS, Medicare, and the Department of Labor, is linked in the description and in the pinned comment. Go check my numbers. I'd rather you did. This is for education and entertainment only, not financial advice. For decisions about your situation, talk to a qualified fiduciary advisor, a CPA, or the SSA.